Who's the real background? Is that her? That's a pretty background. Good morning, everybody. So I can get everybody to come down and sit down. We're going to get started. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
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 Okay, so today's agenda, we're going to have vision, mission, and core values. We have milestone anniversaries. We have employee of the quarter to announce, employee of the year to announce, and leader of the year. Then SLC will give us an SLC update. Scott will give us a financial and economic update, and then we're going to close it off with Joseph's CEO message and the BFF bonus announcement. So let's get started. Who would like to volunteer to do vision? Not all at once.
Got on a pod. Text messages to my friends. End-to-end encryption, man. And I was still going through all of these checkpoints. And I was like, and so that is what drove me to go into the future and to find out, okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, I think we're good to go. So can I have a volunteer?
To improve our members' lives by providing convenient member-focused solutions through a rewarding, effortless experience.
Who's Ingrid said that? Okay.
Yeah.
Ingrid, go ahead and pick somebody.
I see Crystal.
Crystal, can I have you do our mission?
Delivering meaningful financial solutions tailored to our members' needs.
Thank you, Crystal. Can I have you pick somebody to do our core values?
Don't pick me. Let's see, Shannon, you're up in my top right-hand corner.
Shannon, go ahead.
Good morning. I'm going to try to get through this without coughing my head off here. Performance. We'll first start off with a pair, which is our core values. But performance, we are member focused and results driven. Accountability, we do what we say. Integrity, we do the right thing. Innovation, we are creative, resourceful, and collaborative. That's my favorite one right now. Respect, we are one team. We are what?
One team.
Professional and compassionate.
Thank you so much. So now we're going to move on to milestone anniversaries. So I'm going to have Melissa, and then I think Eddie's going to do one as well. So who's here? Okay, we're going to wait for Mel. It's okay. Come on up.
Good morning, everyone. All right. Well, today I have the pleasure of celebrating Oswaldo Leiva's 5-year anniversary. And there he is. I see him on the screen. All right. So just a little bit of background of Ozzy. He started his career here at SkyOne on January 7th, 2019. Okay. He started out working in the branch under the call center, and then he moved to MCC, where he worked there for a little bit until he transitioned over to operations. And then he served as an operations specialist too, and was promoted a couple years ago to the role of retail service specialist. Some of Ozzy's accomplishments over the years have been onboarding NALN, iLending, and OA Finance. He also played a pivotal role in the application automation for these lenders, enhancing efficiency and integration. I hear an echo. Over the past couple years, he's also participated in the 13 High Trust Behaviors Book Club and was a SOAR ambassador. And then just a couple of fun facts about Ozzy. He finds joy in visiting Disneyland, and he especially loves indulging in the tasty treats there. and he loves spending quality time with his 3 nephews. So thank you, Ozzy, for your service to our members and our organization. And you're going to be receiving $500 on your next paycheck. Great job. Thank you.
The next one is going to be Eddie. Eddie, are you on? You see Eddie anywhere? I know Chris was supposed to do it, but he's out sick today. Maybe out sick too. Okay. Eddie, can you hear us? I'm gonna try to message him and see if he's.
He said he is having connectivity issues on his phone at the moment.
Okay, so once Eddie's able to get back on, he could just pin us and then we'll circle back with him. Now I'm gonna bring up Melissa because she has an announcement for Employee of the Quarter.
All right. Thank you again. Good morning, everyone, again. I don't see her here unless she's coming out. No, she's not. But I wanted to take the time to recognize the Employee of the Quarter for 2023 Q4. And I'm not very good at keeping this anonymous, so I'm just going to say who it is. It's Jasmine Ho. Yay! Thanks, Sonny. Hopefully she'll come out if she's back there. I know there was like a lot of traffic on the 405 this morning, so she may or may not be here. So I've only had the pleasure of working with Jasmine for the past 3 months, but I can say with confidence that she is one who truly, truly cares about her members and about our organization. She's not here. Okay. She's probably still stuck in traffic. So hopefully she can watch this recording and hear all the wonderful things about her. Sorry. Okay, she's always placing the member in the organization first, and she truly embodies our core values. Just a couple of examples of this is she took on the S-Cheat process with very little experience in it back in 2023, and she made sure that everything was filed on time, that it was done correctly. She checked all the reports over and over again. She fixed all the mistakes that I made when I was trying to help her, and she did a really great job, and she just persevered through the whole process and made sure that, you know, we got everything done correctly for the organization. She also stepped up to lead the ops team with the NPS initiative for pretty much most of the year. And she was on every single call. She performed the due diligence on all the cases that were from ops. She kept the team informed and encouraged. And she just did such a great job. And she was so passionate. And she's also such a compassionate leader amongst our group. She's consistently practicing SOAR with both our members and our internal team members. And she is the go-to person for IRAs, deceased accounts, trusts, powers of attorney, all the fun stuff that we handle in ops. So she goes above and beyond every time to ensure our members are comfortable with the process and they feel like they're supported through the process throughout. And there's so many wonderful things I could say about Jasmine, but I would like to read something that truly embodies her. And there she is, the Employee of the Quarter, Jasmine Ho. Woo! So I'm gonna embarrass her and make her come up here. Come up here, Jasmine. So because you're late, I'm gonna make you come up here. But I just wanted to say, Jasmine, you have been elected to be Employee of the Quarter for 2023 Q4. And I'm about to read something that someone wrote about you in one of the nominations. So they wrote, when you interact with Jasmine, you feel you can feel her passion and actively contribute to improving the lives of our members by providing timely and accurate solutions that make things easier and create a rewarding experience. Jasmine deals a lot with delicate and complicated retirement, trust, and deceased member issues. Her ability to be precise, kind, and efficient is key. And she does that with grace and humility every time. Just a couple of fun facts about Jasmine. She's a major foodie. She's a fish mom. She has a pet chicken named Bella. And she has a green thumb. And she gave me a plant. It's sitting on my desk. It's still alive only because Jasmine comes in and takes care of it every week for me. And so I want to just thank you, Jasmine, for all your hard work. And I appreciate everything you do every day for our organization and our members. And congratulations on Employee of the Quarter. And you're going to receive a $250 gift card.
Now we're going to be announcing the Employee of the Year and Leader of the Year. So I'm going to have Myra's virtual, and I'm going to have Scott come up here. But we're going to start with Myra. She's going to be announcing the Employee of the Year.
Morning, everyone. Just want to say Happy New Year to everyone. And I just want to say that I'm really excited that I have the privilege to recognize the Employee of the Year. And I also won't be able to keep it anonymous because this person was actually the Employee of the Quarter last quarter. So if you know who that was, then you know who the Employee of the Year is. I have so many great things that I can say about this individual, and that's Oline. But I definitely wanted to read a couple of excerpts from the nominations because they were wonderful. And I know that people took the time to write these. So I wanted to share a couple of highlights. Oline exemplifies SkyOne's core values through her daily interactions. If you have been able to work with or alongside Oline, you know that Oline consistently applies her SkyOne drumbeat of making it easy, making sure she is accurate, timely, and kind. Oline continuously leverages the 13 high trust behaviors to reduce friction, make things more efficient, and finds ways to reduce cost of things that we do. Oline truly embodies a consistent demonstration of the high-performing employee traits. Oline embraces innovation and creates opportunities to engage in creative and collaborative endeavors across the organization. One of her greatest strengths is the way in which she leads herself with a high level of accountability and integrity, and leverages her circle of influence to inspire others to do the same. Oline treats her colleagues respectfully, cultivating a professional and compassionate environment and embodying the unity that supports the organization's core values. She has an organization-first mindset. She is not only willing, but embraces change, constantly focusing on how she can improve. She's personally committed to continuous improvement and actively seeks out new skills and knowledge, staying ahead of industry trends and technology to meet the organization and her role as it changes. She seeks out opportunities to partner with industry professionals through her membership with L&D associations and groups. Oline builds trust with others in the organization by demonstrating behaviors that reinforce her high level of character and competence. Team members are drawn to her because of her reputation for delivering effective results that are timely, accurate, and kind. And she always makes it easy for people to accomplish their objectives. So Oline, really, really proud of you. So please welcome me on congratulating Oline for Employee of the Year. Very well deserved, Oline. Virtual hug to you. I didn't want to send any germs that way, so that's why I'm virtual today.
Okay, now I'm going to bring up Scott. Oh, there you are. Eddie's here. So Eddie's going to be announcing, we're going to circle back with him. He's going to be announcing a milestone anniversary.
Thank you. Sorry for my delay, everyone. So I have the pleasure to congratulate, announce, recognize someone in the MCC team. That is Lisa for 10 years. I didn't get, I don't have a fun fact, but from what I do know, she's a pet mom. She's got quite a few pets, and she's going to get an extra $1,000 on her paycheck. So congratulations, Lisa. And also a huge thank you to her because she's a huge support system to MCC. Thank you.
Congratulations. Now, Scott.
And I'm glad the people before me chose to just say who it is because I was planning on doing that anyway. So, it's no surprise. I mean, I guess you don't have to really guess who the leader of the year is if I'm standing up here. So, Natalie, if you want to come up and stand up. So, 2023 was, I think big year for Natalie, right? She's part of the SLC. She graduated from Western Kingdom Management School, and that's not an easy program, right? And it's like 3 years. Dave knows all about it, right? And I think throughout the year, her commitment to our success, right? It shows up. Like, she asks a lot of questions, right? She's always seeking answers and how do we get better? And when it comes to the core values, I know she talks about it a lot, but she exemplifies the core values, right? You could see it in her actions. And so, I know it hasn't always been easy, right? We've had tough times throughout the year just because we're pushing so hard. And I know everyone thinks, oh, Scott's so nice. I'd like to work for him, but I'm not that easy to work for, right? I don't have to ask for things. Natalie she has it, right? She's always prepared and she is always trying to do the right thing, right? And really fulfilling her commitments. When she says she's going to do something, she does it, right? And I think that shows up in everything that she does and everyone that she interacts with. And so, I think for me, it's a long time coming, right? We've been working together like 4 years now, right? And I think at least for myself, if I didn't have someone like Natalie in the role that she's in, it'd be a lot tougher, for me and for the organization. So truly appreciate everything that you've put in, and looking forward to 2024 and beyond, right? When we get to that $1 billion and that $2 billion, right? Like the success is not just year over year, but consistently, right? Over decades. Right? Okay, thank you. Oh wait, hold on. And I got a check for you. Remember, use mobile deposit.
Thank you.
Congratulations to everybody. Now I'm going to bring up SLC. They have an update. Happy New Year, everyone. So come on, SLC. So the SLC is our first part of our presentation this morning is to highlight our December results for our Spotlight Focus. And so what I did want to share with the team is a quote, because I'm all about the quotes sometimes, and I found one the other day that I was like, oh, this is so great. And it says, I will fight to the end no matter the challenges that come my way. I am just determined to see my goals through. So the reason why I felt like this quote was so amazing is because that is exactly what we did in our Spotlight Focus. It was not always easy. We had a lot of tough conversations. We had a lot of doing things differently and meaningful learning. So we just want to show and share the results with the organization. You can go ahead to the next slide. So December results, our new membership results were 1,079 memberships. Give yourselves a hand of applause for hitting our threshold. For Net Promoter, we ended at 65.32, and that was no
easy fight. That was definitely through the efforts of all of our member-facing team members, our SLC, our leaders, to drive that number from where we started in September. That was amazing. And that shows us that when we are focused, laser focused, and when we are doing the right things consistently, we can shoot for the stars and we still may hit the moon if we don't hit the stars. So that was our threshold. I had to say that, right? So in addition to that, we do have some recognition around that. So in our month of December, we had a few teams who ended up with all 10s for all of their surveys with all of our efforts and focuses. And so we did our random raffle. So we had Christina Hartmark for loan servicing, Adriana Gonzalez for lending, Jasmine Villa for Hawthorne, and Aina for El Segundo. So you all will be receiving your $25 gift cards. And then we also had individuals who we call our perfect 10s. We had a lot of perfect 10s in the month of December. You can flip the next slide there. But again, we had each week, we did our random drawing. So we have Melanie in MCC, Jennifer also in MCC, Crystal in lending, and also Sorrel in MCC. MCC, when I tell you that they pulled the line in December, their interactions dramatically increased. And again, we thank you for your dedication to really focusing on our drumbeat and making it easy for our members, because we could see that reflected in the comments and the change in the tone since we started our focus earlier this year. Next. We do have a source story to recognize. You can take a look at the story, but it is presented by Brittany for our DMX team. And the reason why this one was chosen is because it really focused on leveraging our promotions that we have and ensuring that our members are taking full advantage of all of the benefits and the value that our promotions bring. And so the team really focused on ensuring that for the A promotion that we had, that members were taking advantage of every single possible capability that they had through that promotion. And so they were reaching out to members proactively, having conversations when they saw that there were missed opportunities. They followed back up with them. And because of their dedication, they were able to generate more memberships, but also deepen the relationships with our members, which is what we are all about. And then we also have an amazing CV story about Roger that was submitted by Maria. Again, it talks about how our leadership, as we lead with respect and we are having those crucial conversations with our team members, but we're also finding out and rounding out where they are, we are able to create great success. So again, this was about Roger and his MPS huddles that we had as we were talking with employees about how can we add more value in our interactions with members, make it easy for them, and then ensure that they give us that 10 because we've earned it, not just because we're asking for it. All right. And so I'm going to turn this over. She is not here, so I'm going to turn this over to Natalie for the next part of our presentation.
All right, so SLC has an announcement today regarding the back to office arrangement. So by the end of March, with the exception of employees who are hired as remote employees, all employees are required to coming back to office 3 times a week at a minimum. And as we all understand, the benefit of this hybrid working arrangement is to preserve core growth, create an intentional focus around the interdependency and collaboration and strengthen our culture. And more importantly, spending more time and efforts on reinvesting our team members through their development. So more details to come as Dave and Emma working through those details. We're doing this in phases. We're starting this with leaders starting February. And that's it. More details about the implementation and execution plans to follow. SLC members, anything that you'd like to add?
The only thing that we wanted to add in our message, guys, is that, our hybrid workforce plan is really designed to create intentional focus around preserving our core, to help us also as an organization stimulate performance. We want to promote effective communication, not just communication, as well as enhance team collaboration and interdependency. It's really about our ability to get better, make better decisions, facilitate a strong company culture. So we're not just saying the words, but we're actually living them every day, as well as foster innovation through face-to-face interactions. So the great part about us coming back together is we get to interact with each other. We get to spark conversation, dialogue, which helps us to, work better, more collaboratively, but also getting better at interdependence. So this is our ability to connect with one another, to do more than just, what we've been doing in the past, and become more effective and efficient with our processes, as well as our ability to execute and meet our goals. So I just wanted to add that.
We're good. And back to you.
Thank you. Now it's Scott. He's going to give us an economic and a financial update.
All right, this is the first BFF after the year end. As we wait, we'll go over 2023 results and then talk about a little bit about what's coming in 2024. So net income here, you guys can see the blue here is the actual net income, and then the green is the budgeted net income. And so we really pushed to the end, right, in December, and it took us over the top from an income standpoint by the end of the year, right? And then when we look at kind of our growth numbers, like the deposit growth, like that green line is stretch. So that blue line, again, pushing to the end, and we were almost there at 7.8%, right? 8% was threshold. If you ask for a mulligan, we can round that up to 8%. But yeah, it was right there, right, almost at threshold. If we had basically over the weekend, if the 31st was on a Monday, was 31st on a Monday? No, right? It was on Sunday, right? Yeah, if it was on a Monday, we would have hit the goal, right? But basically, our year ended on the 29th. Yeah. And then the next one, loan growth. Sorry. Loan growth, you see that dip? That was a credit card sale, but with the BFF calculation, we get to add that back in, right? If we have a profitable loan sale, we get add that back into loan growth. So we were at threshold there. We were close to 11%. And then asset growth, same thing, that green line to stretch. Almost got there, right? We were at like about 6% asset growth, but we'll talk more about the asset growth when we talk about net worth. And the next one, and then here, these were the metrics. You got the actuals first, and then you got threshold, target, and stretch, and you can see there, we're basically at threshold on most of the metrics, but one of the metrics, our gatekeeper net worth, we didn't hit it, right? We're at 741. The threshold was 755, right? ROA, yes, we're at stretch at 70, but net worth is also the gatekeeper. And so, do I have another slide after this? Okay, all right, we'll go back to that one. So we'll talk more about the net worth. So, I guess I'll start with the story. Last week, I raced my 11-year-old. We have a stick that measures out, right, how the distance. So we measured 100 meters. And last year, I smoked him, right? This year, we raced and he killed me, like by a lot. And so we ran 5 100s because we're kind of training a little bit. And by the third one, he felt so bad. He was jogging, right? And so, the way I think about it is like, in my mind, right, I thought, there's no way he can beat me. I'm going to continue to beat him at any physical activity until he's like 15, 16 years old, right? But he beat me last week, and that was really humbling, right? And so when I think about kind of, net worth, because, when we talked about this at, beginning of the year, um, we said, hey, focus on members, right? The team focus on new members, existing members, and ELT will figure out ROA and net worth, right? So for me, net worth, in my mind, that was, it was given, like we're gonna hit it, right? And just makes me kind of think back and say, oh, like, I don't know if it's arrogance, but maybe complacency, thinking, hey, I'm always gonna be here, without even thinking like, oh, I haven't been, preparing, right? Like I didn't prepare to race my son. I just knew I was gonna beat him, but then I didn't. The same way I thought, hey, we're gonna hit net worth, and then at the end we didn't, right? And a combination of things that happen right throughout the year, but to me that's just excuses, right? And then we just can't have any more excuses. And again, it's not about just 1 year, right? I don't know if you guys know, but this year is our 75th anniversary. So in July of this year, the credit union will be 75 years old. And when we talk about net worth, what net worth is every dollar of net income over the last 74 years is our net worth, right? And that goes into a GL called undivided earnings. And why do we call it undivided earnings? Because they're all combined, right? They're not divided. Like we could have a separate GLs of, net income 1949, net income 1950, net income 1951, and we could put that all in the equity section of our balance sheet. But what we do is we combine them, and so we call it undivided earnings. So it's the accumulation of everything that we've earned, right, over the last 74 years. And if you think about it, if we would have made 100,000 more each year, we would have hit threshold. At least we would have been closer to target, right? So it's not just about 1 year; it's that consistency, like year over year. And that's why when we talk about 2024, we said it's going to be another tough year, right? Short-term rates are still high. Yeah, I think people are anticipating that the Fed will start lowering rates, but we keep getting different kinds of information, right? Like even though you hear about layoffs, the unemployment rate is still low, right? Like it's kind of weird, right? Like so where are those jobs? And so you could see kind of the shift in jobs, right? I think a couple of years ago when COVID hit, everyone wanted to be a programmer, right? Oh, I'm gonna start coding. And now what do? You just cut and paste your code and the AI will fix it, right? Or you tell the AI what you want to code and it'll code it for you. So those jobs, it's shifting, right? The environment's shifting, and so we also have to shift, right? Um, and so, again, net worth, that at least I feel like that's a big miss, right? For me, I think ELT feels the same way, right? But it's not just about this year. It's, how do we get better next year or this year, 2024, 2025, and 2026? Because if we want to get to a billion, 2 billion, we have to have that net worth. And how do we get net worth? All comes from net income, right? So we have to make more net income. And you think about net worth as kind of the vault, right? Every year, the credit union manager back in 1949 took our net income and put it in a vault. And the year after that, they put it in the vault. So after we pay back all our liabilities and all our loans are gone, this is what we're left with for our members, right? So if we have $60 million in net worth and 60,000 members, what is that? It's $1,000 per member, right? So that's what we've created as an organization up until now. But definitely something that we have to work towards, right? Now and beyond, and it's in a tough environment, right? We haven't been in an environment like this pretty much ever, right? At least the velocity of the way rates increased, right? We've had higher rates. I know there's probably most people here, your parents or grandparents had a mortgage loan at 18%. It doesn't matter if you've had one or not, but your parents most likely had one, right? So we've had higher rate environments, but the speed at which the rates have increased, it's never been like this, right? And so there's some elements of us kind of waiting kind of that to stabilize, but we can't just wait. We have to take action, right? And so That's the only way we're going to continue to grow. And I think, if you look at, I know a lot of people think about SoFi, right? And if you look up SoFi, Google it, look up their financials, they're losing their shirts, right? They're losing money hand over fist, but people still want to invest in them because why? They have growth, right? They have market share, and they believe that management will figure out kind of the efficiency, right? And so they're going to continue to invest in SoFi. It's no different for us. We don't have stockholders, but we have members, right? And we have to do the same thing for them. We have to create more value. And 60 million was just an example. We really have 67, right? Million in net worth, but that's the value that we've created for our members. So how do we get that to 70, 75, 80, right? And so, it really does come down to, how can we, increase our income, right? That's the only thing that's going to help us from a net worth perspective. And as we build up that net worth, then we can grow, faster, right, and quicker, and bigger. Right? And that's it. That's my update.
Now Joseph's going to give us our CEO message, and he's going to give us an announcement of BFF bonus.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me online? Shannon, take your head up. There you go.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Top
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Well, Happy New Year, everyone. Hope you all enjoyed time with family and friends. I know I had, although I was sick over much of the holiday, I still got to enjoy seeing all my grandkids and my kids, so it was a lot of fun. And I guess it must mean that because I rarely get sick, and when I do get sick, I'm not sick for very long. So it seems like I was sick for a long time. So I don't know if that has to do with my age, or maybe I'm just out of shape, or I don't know. I'm not sure what it is, but certainly it was an interesting process for me over the holidays. But hopefully all of you had an opportunity to enjoy friends and family as well. I'm going to cut right to the chase because it's been mentioned twice, and I'm going to share the BFF bonus outcome. And Scott tried to do everything he could to get you ready for this. But the fact that we missed a gatekeeper means that there is no payout for the BFF. And net worth is a gatekeeper. And so at the end of the day, we lost the game, maybe only by inches, but a loss is a loss. And I know Scott mentioned several ifs. My philosophy is that ifs only work with horseshoes and hand grenades, right? So with horseshoes and hand grenades, almost counts. But with measurements, typically they do not. And as painful as it is, and I think there are certainly things that we will draw from our experience this past year, which I'll talk about in just a minute, that will be helpful. I feel like there's certainly some positive things that took place. Deposits, as an example, we were significantly negative most of the year, and we're able to make much of that ground up in the last quarter. So I think there's some positives, but at the end of the day, I don't want to put a bunch of silver linings in. We missed the mark, we missed our goal, and that happens at times. Failure is a part of success. It's a painful part of success, but it is a part of success. And there are lots of things that we can learn only through failure that helps us to be more successful. I think it was Olene that had the Henry Ford quote up there. Actually, my kids actually think I said that because I've used it so much in my household. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. They've heard that literally for my son for 34 years. But another favorite Henry Ford quote that I have that seems to be relevant here is failure is simply the opportunity to begin again more successfully, right? And so as we think about our culture organizationally, it's about what we're going to do, not what has happened. The what has happened is about meaningful learning and what can we learn from that process. And there's not much that I can do that will take the sting away from the fact that, I know some of you are not huge sports fans. I love college football, and the game yesterday was less interesting to me because no one that I wanted to be there was there. So, although I did decide at the last minute that I want Washington to win, and that didn't work out either. So, at the last minute, I said right before the game, I thought, I'll root for Washington. I'm thinking I just stopped rooting for college football teams, I think. But for those of you that don't know, Washington lost last night. Or weren't interested. I actually lost interest fairly quickly. I was still here at work till well into the game. But Texas is a team that I enjoy rooting for, as well as Colorado. And I also, my son is a huge Alabama fan. And so since Texas and Alabama were in, those are the two teams I rooted for. They both lost. And they both lost in really good games. And I mean, it was just literally, they both could have won right up until the end. So I mean, I love games like that. It's nice if the person in the team that you're rooting for wins, but it's still a good game. But as I think about, that's kind of how, to Scott's point, that's kind of how I feel about this. You know, it's like, you know, we were right there. But to Scott's point, it's never one factor. Even though we like to blame one factor. You know, if we look at those two games, you might say, oh, if they would have, Texas had an opportunity to win it in the end by throwing a pass. They were close to scoring. It was batted away and the game was over. Oh, if he would have only caught it. What about if they would have only scored 14 more points throughout the game? That would have won as well, right? I mean, in Alabama, kind of the same thing. They were right on the edge of scoring a touchdown, denied the last second. Oh, if only he would have. But the reality is, you know, if we think about our fourth quarter, the push that we had on, the reason that we had to do that is because we fell behind really early. And so as we think about, you know, meaningful learnings, we'll certainly talk more about that. But whenever I think of failure, one of my favorite examples to talk about, not that this will make it any easier, but it's just interesting to me anyway, is Abraham Lincoln. And most of you are probably familiar with Abraham Lincoln, but I love this. I used to actually carry this list around with me on a little card years ago, but I think I gave it to someone at one point that was struggling at times. This is the list for Abraham Lincoln's failures and successes. He lost his job in 1832. He was defeated for state legislature in 1832. He failed in business in 1833. He was elected to the state legislature in 1834. His sweetheart died in 1835. He had a nervous breakdown in 1836. He was defeated for speaker in 1838. He was defeated for nomination for Congress in 1843. He was elected to Congress in 1846. He lost his renomination in 1848. He was rejected for land office in 1849. He was defeated for the Senate in 1854. He was defeated for nomination for vice president in 1856. He was again defeated for U.S. Senate in 1858. He was elected president in 1860, and we know the rest of the story. But think about the amount of tenacity it must have taken to continue after all of those defeats, right? And as we think about, and I can only imagine the meaningful learning, but here's what I don't want us to focus on or don't think, right? Many of you know that since my kids were young, we as a family have a family quote that I share and the kids try to memorize each week. And so right now we only have Abby at home, so bless her heart, it's just her that has to memorize the quote. So our quote this week, right, is it is our choices, not our conditions, that determine our future. It is our choices, not our conditions, that determine our future. It'll be easy for us to think, oh, it was a tough year. The reason that we failed was because of all the things that happened. No, the reason that we failed is we didn't make enough of the right choices, right? The reason that Texas lost, the reason that Alabama lost wasn't because of those final plays. They had an impact. It was also the rest of the game. It's the entirety of our efforts, the entirety of our choices that create our future, that create our successes. So as we think about, right, what we need to do different, as we think about the meaningful learnings going forward, first and foremost to me is communication. We have to communicate more effectively organizationally. We need better communication from ELT to you, from SLC to you. We need better communication from you to us as a part of the process. I think as we were focused on some of the things happening last year, if we would have communicated sooner in the process, it could have been more helpful to having better choices in the process. The other thing is that we have to react quickly. The world is changing, and it's changing very rapidly. It has changed very rapidly over the last 4 or 5 years. It is interesting, though. I heard, for some reason, I got stuck on this because someone mentioned to me about 2 weeks ago, oh, well, I guess, that's because of the pandemic. And I thought, geez, the pandemic has been, it started with this message that was at my gym on the treadmill. And they have the schedule. So if you're not a part of this class, a walking or running class, right, that, you can't be on the treadmills during these times, and they list when the classes are. So it was really early in the morning, and I'm like walking on this treadmill, and one of the instructors comes, oh, we're about to have a class. You can't be in here. I'm like, no, you're not. It's not on the list here. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, this time frame is not on this list. She's like, oh, I guess that's outdated because of, it's the pandemic. I'm like, the pandemic? What pandemic are you talking about? So, and then I started, so of course, I graciously, or maybe not so graciously, picked up my stuff and went to a treadmill that was way in the back, so that didn't have a little card on it. But then 4 more times in the period of that week, I heard people use the pandemic as an excuse. I often hear people talking about, and by the way, the pandemic happened. It changed the world, right? It changed what we did. Inflation happened. It changed how we did things, how expensive things were. It had an impact on our budget. I'm not saying these things don't have an impact. What I'm saying is we can respond in a way that will alter our course. We don't have to accept conditions. We can adjust to conditions. And so hopefully in your team meetings, right, as you, and I'm going to give an unofficial assignment, love to hear some feedback. I know often when I ask for feedback, I get nothing, but that's okay because it is optional. But I'd love to get some feedback about conversations that you have in your department meetings around what is some meaningful learning that we have from last year. Perhaps things that you're going to do differently from that meaningful learning. But I'd take an opportunity in your department meetings, in your group meetings, to try to understand what are we going to do differently last year or this year versus last year, and why? What is really the meaning? Because it's not just what we do, it's also understanding the why of what we do. So I'd really hope that you would talk about that. So with that, I'm going to go ahead, and we've got plenty of time for questions today. I'm going to go ahead and open it up for questions. We can start with anything that I talked about, or did we have, they wanted to know if we were going to have a BFF payout or what the BFF payout was going to be.
One of them is, with the challenges that the credit union faced in 2023, what can we do to help us get on the right track for 2024 and stay strong throughout the year?
All right, why don't we have the ELT come up and join me on this. Certainly I mentioned a few things. I think as we think about the Stockdale paradox, which we've talked about in this meeting before, right? Some of you may remember the Stockdale paradox. Admiral Stockdale, who was named after the highest ranking POW. He was in a concentration camp, survived, and was asked, who survived? Was it the optimist? He said, no, the optimists all died. And of course, Jim Collins, who was the interviewer, asked him, well, what do you mean? It seems like, and he said, oh, no, the optimist would say, we'll be out by Christmas. Christmas would come and go. And they'd say, oh, we'd be out by Easter. Easter would come and go. And they'd say, oh, we would be out by the summer. Summer would come and go, and they'd die of a broken heart. he said, those that survived have the ability to understand the brutal facts. And in that condition, he said, ultimately, this is a tough, we don't know when we're going to get out. It's a difficult situation. We don't know we're going to get out. At the same time, and is important, right? The power of the and they had the belief, the faith that in the end, things would work out. So it's the combination of the brutal facts and that unwavering belief that things in the end will work out. You can't, most of us have a heavy dose of one or the other, right? As Tony Robbins liked to say, as you're trying to get things done, it's not just positive thinking, right? If you have a garden, you stare at your garden and say, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds. What's going to happen? Pretty soon the weeds going to take your garden, right? You actually have to get down on your knees and start pulling weeds, right? So being optimistic that something can be done is important, but there has to be action associated with that. So it's the combination of those two things. So as I think about those two things, right, I think one of the things that we have to do organizationally is make sure that we're looking at the brutal facts and we're creating very challenging goals, but also still realistic goals. So there's this line as we set goals, and especially for leaders and for teams, as you're thinking about your goals, right? There's a balance. If you set a goal that's kind of a gimme, right? Sandbagging, as sometimes I like to call it, right? That's not really motivating to most of us in the long run. At the same time, if you set a goal that's so unrealistic that no one believes we can get there, that's not going to be motivating either. So there's this balance of making sure that it's challenging, but not so challenging that it's unrealistic. I think organizations, as an organization, one of the things we have to do is make sure that we're within that range. And that's why we have a threshold, a target, and a stretch. And I think for the most part, that has worked well for me. And so just so you know, for whatever it's worth, and maybe this is good or maybe it's bad. I wasn't really, I was reminiscing with the ELT the other day. I don't think, and the best that I've started thinking about it now that we started talking about it, and I'm about 95+% certain that every organization I've been with in the last 20 years, that I had been with the organization at least a year, there has been some kind of bonus payout. So this is the first time in 20 years that that's not happened. So you might say, wow, Joseph, what a time for you to fail, right? I mean, but from my perspective, I guess the way that I'd like you to think about that is I am 20-1, right? So what's the probability that's going to happen again? Very, very unlikely, maybe 20 years from now, right? So we as an organization will make sure that we do everything we can to make sure that our goals are realistic, but also very challenging. And we'll continue to look at that. The second thing that I mentioned to begin with is communication. We have got to get better at communicating. The reason that communication is so important is it drives interdependence, right? And as we think about interdependence, it's that synergy of you and I working together, right, on a team, right? That 1 and 1 equals more than 2 because of our efforts together, right? That's what effective communication helps us drive. And of course, the next piece is we have to continue to build trust within the organization, which we spend a lot of time on that. I don't know, Patty's got a microphone for ELT. Any other thoughts on what we might do differently with some of the struggles?
Well, I'm not sure. Hi, good morning, everybody. Happy New Year. I'm not sure if it's really doing, completely differently. To me, I think there was a lot of learning from, coming up short and what we needed to do. So I think if I think about what to do for this year, I really would like for us to take it as that was a warm up. We have learned a lot and we have acquired some new capabilities. Let's not put it down, right? It's not over just because 2023 is over. This is the beginning. So I think we have the tendencies as human beings is like, okay, that's over. We don't have to continue to do those things that we were doing before. To me is much the contrary. I think we now have momentum. We have new capabilities. We have learned quite a bit from all the focuses that we had. We have learned to do things differently. So let's just build up on that. I think, compliments what Joseph just said. So that's for me.
Well, just sharing with everyone, there's a lot of reflection, a lot of conversation within ELT as we kind of approach the year end and we talked about what the end result would be, right? In my case, a lot of what could I done differently, right? I think I failed the organization, right? So that's always in my mindset, right? I think Joseph already mentioned some of the things that I personally have thought about in terms of more effective communication, not a monologue, but a dialogue, right? And timely. I think one of the meaningful learners for me, and this is really more for me to share with the organization, for those that have attended the WCMS program, it's start early, start often, right? And it's Dave just smiled. I think that Joseph mentioned that we kind of fell behind earlier in the year, and although we had some success, the tail end of the year, it wasn't enough. And that for all of us, we should think about that, right? The sense of urgency begins on the first day of the year, right? Not in November. When we're trying to think about all the things, how can we catch up? And I think for me personally, that's really the meaningful learning for me. Really start early, start often. And hopefully we all feel the same way, because I'm 100% sure if we do that, we're gonna end up being very successful. Thank you.
Hot potato, hot potato.
Can't believe we missed it. Much like Joseph, I don't think I missed one until now, and I won't be here in 2024. So feel bad. Thank you.
He'll be spending time with his grandkids, so don't feel sorry for him.
We obviously have to get the meaningful learnings out of this situation, but one way to think about it, I'm gonna play the game until the very last day that I'm here. Don't look at this as a setback. Look at this as a setup for 2024. Think about Abraham Lincoln and the quote that Joseph shared. Think about the Stockdale paradox. Again, we've got to do some things differently. But look at this as not a setback, but a setup for the future. Thank you.
And yeah, set up for the future. And I think in 2023, there's no secret, right? Like, we have partners, and we relied on partners a lot in 2023 to hit some of our numbers. And so in 2024, what can we do differently? It's core deposits, right? And make more net income, right? We're always going to have partnerships. We're always going to look at ways to better fit the needs of our members. But at the same time, we still have to focus on the core, right? Who are we bringing in? Getting those checking deposits, right? Getting those low cost funds, getting the relationship, getting people to use our products. And I think to answer the question, what can we do? I think individually, I think each of us have to take pride in what we do in our work. We have to be proud of the organization that we work for, because we're all part of it, right? It's not, oh, that's the organization, I'm different. No, we're all part of the organization. We're the sum of the parts, right, are worth more, right? And so, using our products, thinking about why aren't members using our products, or what can we do differently that will get people to engage with us more, right? Because, over the last, I don't know how many years I've been working in credit unions, right? The products are the same, right? But the way people use it or think about it is different. And so how can we connect with our members so that it resonates, right? I think an example would be Head and Shoulders, right? They have the Troy Polamalu commercials, but then they also have this medical commercial where it's like, oh, if you have, really like clinical dandruff, you could use Head and Shoulders. But it's the same bottle of shampoo, but it's two different messages, right? Same thing with, the iPhone. Doesn't matter, what demographic you are, what, how you think or whatever. People still use the iPhone, right? But they use it in different ways, right? Your age, You know, you interact with products in different ways, and we have to find a way to connect with them, with our members, and we need that from everybody here, right? If we're baking a cake, you know, we're trying to figure out, okay, well, what ingredients do we need, right? And then someone's got to put those ingredients together, and then, you know, bake the cake, right? But if we have the wrong ingredients, that cake's not going to taste good, right? You know, if we, put too much of one ingredient or the other, it's not going to taste good, right? So it has to be the right combination of activities. And when we talk about ROA, net income, all our metrics, the results are the combination of all our activities together, right? So we have to figure out a way to make all those activities increase, right? Our income and hit our goals, right? It's not just about what I'm contributing by myself. It's how I contribute and be a better teammate, right? And how do I become the person or the employee that the organization needs, right? It's not about, oh, this is my box and I don't walk outside of that. That's someone else's, right? No, we have to go into other people's boxes, right? And so I'll pass off to Donnie.
Thank you. I'm glad Scott went to the cake and iPhone examples. I thought you were going to do a shampoo and then hand it to me. Spin it on. So calendar question for everyone. These it's kind of a phenomena. These 2 days coincide. What's the most popular day to start going to the gym and or start a diet? Anyone know what that day is? I hear January 2nd. First week of January. Others in the back, Eddie, after Christmas, January 1st. Guess when it really is? Tomorrow. Right? That's what we always, I'll start tomorrow. Right? So I use that to echo what Michael said about that sense of, right, not waiting to get things done. If I said today we need to walk 365 miles, you want to wait till the end of the year to get that done and walk 365 miles in one day, or you want to do a mile every day, right? That 20-mile march as we think about that. So literally each day it's asking, what did I do today to get us there? And if I didn't do it today, what am I going to do tomorrow to get us there? And if I did do it today, what am I going to do tomorrow to get us there, right? So from my perspective, like Michael, a lot of self-reflection. You got to ask harder questions. Right? You have to ask harder questions of us. We have to ask harder questions of you. We have to do that of each other, right? Regardless of role. Scott mentioned there's no lane. There's one lane, right? And the lane is for us to all be successful. So appreciate that. Appreciate everyone's effort. We're going to get it done this year. 20-1, not 20-2. Shannon, Myra?
Yeah.
I know you all said a lot of the things I was hoping to say, but I do want to say that we got to continue to believe that we can do this, especially through our core values. And I think Donnie said what I was really thinking. It's not really, we'll all sit up here and we're going to give you our spiel, and I think I agree with everything everybody said. But I think more importantly, we need to hear from you, and we need to understand, what are those pain points? Where's the friction? How can we get better continuously, and have that be a continuous dialogue? So I can say this very confidently that I and my peers are very open to hearing your thoughts. And I know that if you had wanted to share that with any one of us, we would welcome that dialogue. So appreciate it.
Myra?
Yeah, and I will just add, Donnie, you mentioned asking tougher questions. And I think the toughest question that we all have to ask ourselves, right, is when we look in the mirror, we know that this 2024 is going to be a tougher year than 2023, right? So what does that mean? Yes, there's a lot of uncertainty, but there's one thing that should not be a surprise, is that we're going to ask for more. We're going to need more effort. We're going to need more commitment. And you have to look in the mirror. We all have to look in the mirror and say, do I want to be a part of this team? Am I ready to provide and contribute what's going to be needed of me in 2024 and beyond? Because it's going to take all of us working together, going in the same direction, going back to the all staff, growing in the same direction. And we need everyone's commitment. And so the only person that has that answer is you, us, right? As we look in the mirror, we just have to be honest with each other and be willing to make those decisions, because we all have choices. And if you choose to stay and you choose to say, yes, I'm all in, I promise you it will be rewarding.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's go ahead and additional questions. Yeah, we have any other emails that we got, or we have one more? All right.
What plans does ELT have for the first quarter, large or small?
That was the question. All right. So I will say we have one of the things that we're doing now is really making sure that we understand where we finish the year and what's possible for us to accomplish going forward. So we're certainly assessing the goals that we set and presented to the board in November, and we'll be doing a true up with them based on our final results at the end of this month at the board meeting. I think one of the other things that we're very focused on is recreating our business model. We presented a draft to the board in our November strategic offsite with the board. And we as an executive team will be putting more detail to that and presenting a final model. They approved, the board agreed and supported the direction that we suggested that we would go. And we're going to be refining that. So you will start hearing more about what that new business model will look like over the next month or so, as we will start spending more time with SLC at first, and then they're going to be spending more time with you talking about, you know, what does that mean as far as what we're doing differently. What we believe, what I believe, and I think what the ELT believes is that the world has changed. We have to figure out how to be successful in the new world. We're not sure that the current world, the current rate environment is going to change anytime soon. So that means we have to figure out how to be successful in our current environment rather than hoping and wishing that things go back to the way they were. And so this new business model and a number, you know, the ELT overall has been working on this in different degrees. We'll be focused on that. So there's a couple of things. I don't know. Again, I want to open it up for general questions. Any other things that you guys are focused on that you want to mention? Quickly.
No, I think all of you know we've made some adjustments in leadership, right? And so a lot of us are working with a lot of you in making sure that these adjustments are really poised to create success. I would return the question back to everyone, right? I think all of you need to challenge your leadership to say, how can we create more success together? I think like we said earlier, it can't be a monologue, right? So you should be having those conversations as well and be part of planning for success, right? Because we've made a lot of great adjustments this year, and I'm just excited to what that would bring us to the end of the year.
Thanks. Yeah.
Can I go a little bit more granular, Joseph?
You can go quickly. You can go
Okay.
quickly.
So quickly, we most of you worked as part as delivering a great member experience last year and focusing on really understanding what the member needs, right? As far as NPS directive and the metric that we drove. You're going to hear a lot from us, or especially from me, on deposits, especially core deposits this year. It is my goal, and I'm going to make sure that we all understand how important this is. Who wants to be trusted here? Personally, you guys want to be trusted? I want us to be trusted by our members. What is really, besides family, we all have that really close to heart. What is the second most important thing to you? Health. Okay, maybe. Okay, let's go with the third one. What is the third most important thing to you?
Remember the quickly part of what you're saying.
I know, they're not getting there. What is it? Okay, guys, let me cut it short. We all hold our finances very dear to heart, right? So we want to be trusted. The fact that our members are not bringing here, you know, the hardworking money translates into something, right? Why not? Why they're not bringing what's important to them to share here with us and trusting us with their finances, right? Especially our deposits. So we're going to talk a lot about that. We need to get better at that. Just quick math. What is core deposits? What goes into core deposits? Because I think we need a quick refresher on that. Anyone? Checking accounts. What else?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Savings. One more. Well, kind of slash savings, but there's one more account that counts into.
To make it fast, money markets.
Oh, there you go. We spoiled it. So we're gonna have to get much better at earning our members' trust and making sure that they're bringing, their deposits here. Make sense? All right.
Thank you.
Do they want to go?
I don't think anyone else
Quick?
wants to go.
Just cut everybody short now.
I'm going to speculate.
I stole
speculate.
everybody's
I'm going to
time.
speculate
Sorry
and
about
say
that.
no one else wants to go. No.
No.
And so and Katya, her comment about core deposits is a part of the new business model that we're focused on. So as we think about, I mean, we have to get better at, because you think about the challenges that we have with our cost of funds, with the way that rates have changed, and 500 basis points, 18 months, right? And they've really not come down. And, there's a lot of talk about the Fed making adjustments in the first quarter. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but we're talking about probably 25 basis points, 50 basis points. It's not the 500 basis point shift that's taken place. So as we think about this new rate environment, one of the things that we can do is if we can capture checking accounts, savings accounts, money markets, and I would say more checking accounts really is really the heart of what we need to focus on. And we really haven't seen our checking accounts grow over the last 5 years, right? Since I've been here, we've seen them we've seen kind of ups and downs, but basically if I look at the average across the board, we've actually shrunk a little bit. So that has to be a heavier focus, and it is part of our new business model. All right, let's open it up with the time that we have left, questions that you have. Anything that I talked about, anything that that's been on your mind, anything that was mentioned that you want, more information on, either here in the room or online. Dave. Oh, neat. We need a mic.
Do we have goals for 2024 published yet? Or
We don't have them published. We have presented them to the board. The board has approved them. We are going to go through the true up process, taking the end of year numbers, which we just closed the books yesterday, I guess, officially. So we'll have those out in the next week. You'll be able to see those numbers. But we wanted to make sure, as I mentioned, we want to make sure that the goals are both challenging but realistic as we look at where the year is and what we think 2024 is. So within the next week, you'll have goals, and SLC specifically will probably be talking more to the rest of you as we move forward.
Perfect. Thank you.
You bet. Other questions? Other questions online or in person? Yeah, so, well, who would like to, I've got all kinds of thoughts on that, but who would like to talk about that? Yes. I'll just answer that question. So we are projected, Emma, correct me if I'm wrong on any of these things. We're projected to be fully ready to go by the 1st of February, first part of February. She's shaking yes, so I'm assuming that means I'm on track. So ultimately, from a branch perspective, we're going to remember we're very focused on doing more with less. We're also focused on value creation. So as we look at that, we want to make sure that the hiring that takes place there is within the budget that we have. So we will start as we have new openings now, we will start posting positions both there as well as here, with the intention of trying to hire more there to fill that facility. But from a branch perspective, I don't anticipate that we'll have an official opening where we announce. We'll have a soft opening probably sometime in the first quarter. It probably would be the second quarter before we did anything official where we announced it and made a big deal about it. So, and the business development folks are there now, actually looking at signing up new SEGs and partners as a part of that process. And that will be a big piece of what they're focused on, is that Dallas area. And the nice thing, again, as we look at what's happening is the Texas market, and specifically Dallas, is growing very rapidly. Here in California, we're shrinking, right? And of course, we have a much more competitive environment here in California. It's much harder to, I mean, we could spend, millions of dollars on marketing and it would have absolutely, little to no impact. Whereas we can spend the same dollars in Dallas and it's not as big of a market, even though it's growing, and it'll have a better effect. So we'll continue to do both, but there'll be a heavy emphasis there. We anticipate that operation will be fully up and running by mid-year. And I'm planning on going up in February. So again, there'll be a big focus there. Other questions? Online? All right. As we think about 2024, understand there are lots of potential reasons why an organization is successful or not successful, but none more important than the people that work in that organization. So you heard from team members, nothing is more important to our success than the value that you create as employees. So all of us should be very focused on what is the value that we're creating and how can I increase that value. As an individual, as a team member, and more broadly, how can I help other areas, even outside my team, as we're focused on what's best for the organization and what's going to create greater success for the organization. So thanks for all that you're doing. Continue. Again, if you have other questions, feel free to reach out to us. We'll respond back to the entire organization. But everyone make a great day. Thank you.